Hey everybody, I have some very sad news. Rickey Henderson died this afternoon. That's all I know. I don't know what happened to him. I'll find out as I go, but I'm just getting out the information right now. It's very sad. Rickey Henderson is a famous Oakland A's slugger and record setter who was the heart and soul of Oakland Athletics community spirit, Oakland Athletics on the field, Oakland Athletics all kinds of ways you could think of the Oakland Athletics, you think of Rickey Henderson. Rickey Henderson was a friend and a fine person, always with a warm smile, something nice to say, and a person who loves fans coming up to him, never treating anyone less than. Always was with a ready ear to hear what they had to say about anything. I have seen him in places like McNally's Bar in Oakland on College Avenue, and more than once, and just always great, and not a bad pool player either. Not a bad pool player. But, the bottom line is that for all of his normal man about town way, Rickey Henderson was a major league legend. He played 3,081 games, had 10,961 at-bats, 2,295 runs, 3,055 hits, 1,115 RBIs, and just incredible person, incredible star, and an incredible asset to baseball. He is regarded as baseball's greatest leadoff hitter and base runner. He holds Major League Baseball records for career bases stolen, runs, unintentional walks, and leadoff home runs. At the time of his last Major League game in 2003, the 10-time American League All-Star ranked among the sport's top 100 all-time home run hitters and was its all-time leader in walks. In 2009, Rickey Henderson was inducted to the Baseball Hall of Fame in his first year of eligibility. Rickey Henderson holds the single-season record for stolen bases, 130 in 1982, and is the only player in American League history to steal 100 bases in one season, having done so 3 times in 1980, 1982, and 1983. His 1,406 career steals is 50% higher than the previous record of 938 by the legendary Lou Brock. Henderson is the all-time stolen base leader for the Oakland Athletics and previously held the New York Yankees franchise record from 1988 to 2011. He was among the league's top 10 base stealers in 21 different seasons. Rickey Henderson was named the American League's most valuable player in 1990, and he was twice the leadoff hitter for World Series champions, the 1989 Oakland Athletics and 1983 Toronto Blue Jays. A 12-time stolen base champion, Rickey Henderson led the league in runs 5 times. His 24-year career elevated him to the top 10 in several other categories, including career at-bats, games, and outfield pullouts and total chances. His high on-base percentage, power hitting, and stolen base and runs totals made him one of the most dominant and innovative players of our time. He was further known for his unquenchable passion for playing baseball and a buoyant, some would say eccentric, and quotable personality that both perplexed and entertained fans. Once asked if he thought Henderson was a future Hall of Famer, statistician Bill James replied, "If you could split him in 2, you'd have 2 Hall of Famers." Rickey Henderson was born December 25th, 1958, in Chicago, Illinois, in the backseat of an Oldsmobile on the way to the hospital. Rickey later joked, "I was already fast. I couldn't wait to get out." It was named Rickey Nelson Henley after singer and actor Rickey Nelson and is the son of John L. Henley and Bobby Henley. When he was 2 years old, his father moved to Oakland, California. Rickey lived with his grandmother in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, from when he was until he was 7, when he migrated to Oakland with his family. His father died sadly in an automobile accident 10 years after leaving home. His mother married Paul Henderson in Rickey Henley's junior year of high school, and the family adopted the Henderson surname. As a child learning to play baseball in Oakland, Henderson developed the ability to bat right-handed, although he was a naturally gifted left-handed thrower, a rare combination for baseball players, especially non-pitchers. In the entire history of Major League Baseball through the 2008 season, only 57 position players are known to have batted right and thrown left, and Henderson is easily the most successful player to do so. Rickey Henderson later said, "All my friends were right-handed and swung from the right side, so I thought that's the way it was supposed to be done." In 1976, Henderson graduated from Oakland Technical High School, where he played baseball, basketball, and football, and was an All-American running back with 2 1,000-yard rushing seasons. He also ran track, but did not stay with the team as the schedule conflicted with baseball. Rickey Henderson received over a dozen scholarship offers to play football. Despite a childhood dream to play for the Oakland Raiders, he turned down the scholarships on the advice of his mother, who argued that football players had shorter careers. In 1983, Henderson married his high school sweetheart, Pamela. They have 3 children, Angela, Alexis, and Adriana. Henderson was drafted by the Oakland Athletics in the 4th round of the 1976 Major League Baseball draft. He spent the first season of his minor league career with the Boise A's of the Northwest League. In 46 games, Henderson batted .336 and hit 3 home runs and 2 triples. Henderson spent the following season with the Modesto A's, where he batted .345 in 134 games during his record-setting season with Modesto. Rickey Henderson, along with Darrell Woodward, nearly broke the league record for team stolen bases. The Modesto A's finished the season with 357 stolen bases, just shy of the league record of 370. While Woodward tied for a single-season player record with 90 stolen bases, Henderson beat the record by stealing 95 bases and was awarded the Sundial Trophy, given to Modesto's A's most valuable player. Rickey Henderson spent the 1978 season with the Jersey City A's of the Eastern League. After the minor league season ended, he played the 1978-1979 winter season with the Nahova Mayos of the Mexican Pacific League. He played in 6 games for the team, which won its first championship. In 1979, Henderson started the season with the Ogden A's of the Pacific Coast League. In 71 games for Ogden, he had a batting average of .309 and stole 44 bases. He joined the Oakland Athletics for the major leagues in 1979 and lasted till 1984. Henderson made his major league debut with the Oakland A's on June 24th of 1979, getting 2 hits and 4 at-bats, along with a stolen base. He batted .274 with 33 stolen bases in 89 games. In 1980, Henderson became the 3rd modern-era player to steal 100 bases in a season. Maury Willis did so in 1962 with 104, and of course Lou Brock with 118 in 1974. Both preceded him. His 100 steals broke Eddie Collins' franchise record of 81 in 1910 with what were then the Philadelphia Athletics, and set a new American League record, surpassing Ty Cobb's 96 set in 1915. He also batted .303, had 179 hits, tied for 9th in the American Leagues, scored 111 runs, 4th in the American Leagues, drew 117 walks, 2nd in the AL, had a .420 on-base percentage, which is 3rd in the AL, and led the AL by reaching the base 301 times. That winter, Rickey Henderson played in the Puerto Rican Professional Baseball League. His 42 stolen bases broke that league's record as well. Rickey Henderson was an MVP candidate a year later. In a season sorted by players' strike, he would hit .319, fourth in the American leagues, and led the league in hits with 135, runs 389, and in triples, and steals, 56. Rickey Henderson was also third in on-base percentage, .408, tied for second in triples, 7, fourth in walks, 64, eighth in total bases, 185, and second in times reaching bases, 201. In so doing, Rickey Henderson became the emblematic figure of Oakland manager Billy Martin's aggressive Billy Ball philosophy, which received, as you know, a lot of media attention. Finishing second to the Milwaukee Brewers' Raleigh Fingers in MVP voting, Rickey Henderson fielding that season also earned him his only Golden Glove award. Rickey Henderson later became known for his showboat snatch catches, which he would flick his glove out to incoming fly balls, then whip his arm behind his back after making the catch. Oh, I remember those. In 1982, Henderson broke Lou Brock's modern Major League single-season record by stealing 130 bases, a total which has not been approached since. He stole 84 bases by the All-Star break. No player has stolen as many as 84 bases in an entire season since 1988, when Henderson himself stole 93. Rickey Henderson's 130 steals outpaces 9 of the American League's 14 teams that season. He also led the American League in walks, was fourth in runs with 919, and third in on-base percentage, .398. Inspired by Dodgers leadoff hitter Rudy Law, Rickey Henderson adopted an exaggerated crouch as his batting stance. You've seen that many times before, which reduced his strike zone without sacrificing much power. Sports writer Jim Murray described Henderson's strike zone as being smaller than Hitler's heart. In 1982, he described his approach to Sports Illustrated this way: I found that if I squatted down real low at the plate, I could see the ball better. I also knew that it threw the pitcher off. I found that I could put my weight on my back foot and turn my hips on the swing. I'm down so low, I don't have much of a strike zone. Sometimes walking so much even gets me mad. Last year, Ed Ott of the Angels got so frustrated because the umpire was calling balls that would have been strikes on anybody else that he stood up and shouted at me, "Stand up and hit like a man." I guess I do that to people, Rickey said. Rickey Henderson's 1982 season, chronicled in the mid-'80s book The Hidden Game of Baseball, looked at such statistics as 78.78 expected runs, or 78% expected runs with a runner on first, no outs, 1.07 expected runs with runner on second and no outs, and only 0.25 expected runs on no one on and 1 out. The authors concluded that with Henderson's 130 stolen bases, because he contributed 22.2 runs to the A's offense as a result, by being caught stealing 42 times, he cost his team 20.6 runs, and therefore the authors concluded the net effect of his running activity was merely 1.6 extra runs for the season. A later analysis determined his net contribution was 5.3 runs for the season. I happen to disagree with both calculations. I think it was more like 20, but I'll get to that another time. Henderson also made Major League Baseball history in 1983 with his third 100 runs, 100 stolen bases, 100 walks season. No modern player has done it even once. Again, no modern player has done it even once. That cannot be overemphasized at all. At all. When he led the American League in stolen bases, 108 this year, this was talking about 1983, walks for 103, when finishing fourth in runs scored with 105. He was also second in on-base percentage for 1983, .414, tied for ninth in triples, 7, and 5th in times on base, reaching the target 257 times. In 1984, Henderson hit 16 home runs while leading the league in stolen bases with 66. He finished second in runs scored with 113 and third in on-base percentage with .399. After the season, he was traded to the New York Yankees. As his frame developed, Henderson continued to improve as a hitter, becoming more muscular. His increasing power and ability eventually led to a record for home runs to lead off a game. During his career, he had over 20 home runs in 4 different seasons with a record high of 28 in 1986 and again in 1990. He was with the New York Yankees from 1985 to 1989, where he was traded during that year. He, in his first season with the Yankees, led the league in runs scored and stolen bases with 80, was 4th in batting average, .314, walks 99, and on-base percentage .419, 7th in slugging .516, 3rd in OPS for which .934, and hit 24 home runs. He also won the Silver Slugger Award and was 3rd in the voting for the Most Valuable Player Award. His 146 runs scored were the most since Ted Williams in 1950. And Rickey Henderson became the first player since Jimmy Fox in 1939 to amass more runs scored than games played. Rickey Henderson became the first player in Major League history to reach 80 stolen bases and 20 home runs in the 1985 season. He matched the feat in 1986, as did the Reds' Eric Davis. They remain the only players in Major League history who are in the 2080 club. It was with the Yankees that Henderson, who had previously worn number 35 with Oakland, which was already taken by his Yankees teammate Phil Niekro, switched to his now famous 24, a number he would wear for the rest of his career with 2 exceptions. He briefly wore number 14 in 1983 while playing for the Blue Jays, wore his old number 35 in 2000 and 2002 while playing with the Mariners and the Red Sox, and number 3 he wore number 20 number 25, while playing with the Dodgers. In 1986, he led the American League in runs scored and stolen bases, 130 and 87 respectively, for the second year in a row, and was 7th in walks, 89, and extra base hits, 64, while hitting 28 home runs, 9 of which led off games, and had 74 RBIs. By 1987, he had a below average season by his standards. He got criticized for it from the New York media, and which never really treated Rickey nice. Yankees owner George Steinbrenner issued a press release claiming that manager Lou Piniella wanted to trade Henderson for playing lackadaisically, or what he called jaking it. Still, Henderson had his best on-base percentage to that point of his career, .423, and with a .29 batting average, was 5th in the American League in stolen bases, 41, hit 17 home runs despite playing only 95 games. It was the only season from 1980 to 1991 which Henderson did not lead the American League in steals. Seattle's Harold Reynolds led the league with 60 steals. Reynolds tells the story of getting what he calls an impish phone call from Henderson after the season. The phone rings. Henderson here. I say, "Hey, what's going on, Rickey? I think he's calling to congratulate me," but he goes, 60 stolen bases? You ought to be ashamed. Rickey would have had 60 at the break. And then he hung up. In 1988, Henderson led the American League in steals, was 3rd in home runs scored, 118, 5th in on-base percentage with .394, and 7th in walks with 82, while hitting .305. Though only in New York's for 4.5 seasons, Rickey Henderson set the Yankees franchise record with 326 stolen bases. The previous high was 248, held by Hal Chase, who played last for the Yankees in 1913, when the team was still known as the Highlanders. In May of 2011, Henderson's total was surpassed by Derek Jeter, who by that point had already played 1,700 more games as a Yankee than Rickey Henderson did. Then Rickey returned to the Athletics 1989 and 1993. On June 21st, 1989, the Yankees traded Henderson back to Oakland for Pluck, Greg Cadet, and Luis Palomino. After the trade, his 52 steals and 72 runs scored led the Athletics into postseason. His 126 walks for the year were the most for any American League hitter since 1970. With a record 8 steals in 5 games, Rickey Henderson was named Most Valuable Player of the American Championship Series. He hit .400 while scoring 8 runs and delivering 2 home runs over the San Francisco Giants and the franchise's first World Series title since 1974. Henderson hit .474 with a .895 slugging average, including 2 triples and a homer, while stealing 3 more bases. On August 22nd of 1989, Rickey Henderson became Nolan Ryan's 5,000th strikeout victim. But Henderson took an odd delight in the occurrence, saying, "If you haven't been struck out by a Nolan Ryan, you're nobody." A year later, Rickey Henderson finished second in the league in batting average with a mark of .325, losing out to the Kansas City Royals' George Brett on the final day of the season. Henderson had a remarkably consistent season, with his batting average falling below .320 for just one game, the third of the year, reaching safely by a hit or walk in 125 of his 136 games. Rickey Henderson led the league in runs with 119, stolen bases with 65, on-base percentage with .439, and OPS 1.016. On-base percentage is what OPS is. And he was second in slugging percentage, .577, fourth in walks with 97, and 96 extra base hits. 66 extra base hits. I stand corrected. He was sixth in home runs with 28 and had 282 times he was on base. He had a total of 61 runs batted in as well. Henderson won the American League's MVP award and helped Oakland to another pennant. He again performed well in the World Series, .333 batting average, .666 percentage slugging, a home run and 3 steals in 4 games. But the A's were swept, unfortunately, by the underdog Cincinnati Reds. Boo. In May 1991, Henderson broke one of baseball's most noted records when he stole the 939th base of his career, one more than Lou Brock's total compiled from 1961 to 1979, mainly with the St. Louis Cardinals. In July 16th of 1993, Henderson broke the world stolen base record by stealing his 1,066th base, thus going past the record which was previously held by Yuta Fukumoto. In 90 games with Oakland, Rickey Henderson was battling .327, which is second in the American League, with 17 home runs and 47 runs batted in. He also had 77 runs, stole base 31 times, drew 85 walks, had a .469 on-base percentage, and was slugging percentage was .553. With the Toronto Blue Jays in 1993, after the Athletics had unfortunately traded him to the playoff-bound organization, he didn't perform to his best, and because he had fractured a bone in his left hand, so he was batting at .215 after being hit by a pitch. But he continued his hitting woes in the postseason, in the American League Championship Series, and again in the World Series. But he was involved, nonetheless, in the final play of the World Series that year, and he and Paul Molitor scored on Joe Carter's season-ending home run, one of the most famous moments in baseball history. Then Oakland Athletics, 1994-1995. After the 1993 season, Henderson re-signed as a free agent with Oakland that December In 1994 and 1995, Henderson finished the top 10 in league walks, steals, and on-base percentage. His .300 average in 1995 marked his sixth and final season in the American League with 300 or better average. Then he was with the San Diego Padres from 1996 to 1997. Henderson signed with the San Diego Padres in the offseason. In 1996, he again finished in the top 10 in the National League in walks, on-base percentage, steals, and runs. In 1997, he was with the Anaheim Angels, and he was traded from the Padres to the Anaheim Angels for minor leaguers Ryan Hancock and Steven Augusto, as well as what's called a player to be named later. The Padres acquired George Arias to complete that trade. As an Angel, Henderson batted only .183 for the rest of that season. I don't think he really liked being with the Angels during that time, to be honest. But I'll continue. He came back to the A's in 1998, and it was the fourth time he played for us. And that season, he led the major leagues in stolen bases with 66, in the American League in walks with 118, while scoring 101 runs. In so doing, the 39-year-old became the oldest player to lead the league in stolen bases and the oldest player to reach 50 steals. He signed as a free agent with the New York Mets a year later. That was 1999 to 2000, where he batted .315 with 37 steals and was seventh in the National League on-base percentage. Henderson was voted in the 1999 National League Comeback Player of the Year by the Sporting News. He wore number 24, which, although not officially retired, had not been regularly worn by a Mets player since Willie Mays himself and his retirement in 1973. Nonetheless, Henderson and the Mets, it was said, were an uneasy fit. And so we'll go on from there to the Seattle Mariners, because Henderson was released. Henderson signed as a free agent with the Mariners, and his second game with the Mariners on May 20th, Henderson hit a leadoff home run, thus becoming the third player to hit a home run in 4 different decades. Ted Williams and Willie McCovey were the others. Despite starting the season in the National League, Henderson finished fourth in the American League in stolen bases with 31. 2001, he was a free agent, so he went to the San Diego Padres, a return. During the 2001 season, he broke 3 major league career records and reached an additional major career milestone. Rickey Henderson broke Babe Ruth's record of 2,062 career walks, Ty Cobb's record of 2,245 career runs, and Zach Wheat's record of 2,328 career games in left field. And on the final day of the season, October 7th, collected his 3,000th career hit, a leadoff double off Rockies pitcher John Thompson in San Diego. That final game was also Tony Gwynn's last major league game, and Henderson had originally wanted to sit out so as not to detract from the occasion, but Gwynn insisted that Rickey Henderson play. After scoring the game's first run, Henderson was removed from the lineup. At age 42 in his last substantial major league season, Henderson finished the year with 25 stolen bases, 9th in the National League. It is also marked by his 23rd consecutive season with more than 20 steals. Of the top 10 base stealers who were still active as of 2002, the other 9 each stole fewer bases in 2002 than the 42-year-old Rickey Henderson. In February of 2002, Henderson signed as a free agent with the Boston Red Sox, where at age 43, he became the oldest player to play center field in Major League history, where he was replaced by John Damon for 3 games in April and another in July. Henderson's arrival marked what was called a statistical oddity. During the 22 and a half years from his June 1979 debut through the end of 2001, he stole more bases by himself than his new team had. 1,395 steals for Rickey Henderson versus 1,382 steals for the Boston franchise. The Red Sox finally, quote, passed Henderson on April 30th of 2022. Or 22, excuse me, 2002, 2002, excuse me, I keep saying that. 2002, folks. At age 43, Rickey Henderson was the oldest player in the American League. While playing in Boston, Henderson rolled his old number of 35 as his regular number, which was 24, of course, was already taken by Manny Ramirez, his teammate. Then we have the Newark Bears and Los Angeles Dodgers in 2003. As the 2003 season began, Henderson was without a team for the first time in his career. He played in the independent Atlantic League with the Newark Bears, hoping for a chance with another major league organization. After being named the Atlantic League All-Star Game MVP and receiving much media attention, the Los Angeles Dodgers signed Rickey Henderson over the All-Star break. In 30 games with the Dodgers, he had 15 hits and 3 stolen bases with a .208 batting average. And he discussed retirement before the 2003 season and talked about his reputation for hanging on to his lengthy baseball career. He said, "Each and every day I set a record, but we never talk about it. We talk about a home run hitter 24-7. Well, they haven't broken any all-time records, but they hit homers. And that's what matters nowadays. You continue playing, you accomplish a lot, and you think people would look at it as a fantastic career. Instead, Rickey thinks people want Rickey to quit more than anything." Henderson played his last major league game. I gotta do this. Henderson played his last major league game September 19th, 2003. He was hit by a pitch in his only plate appearance and came around to score his 2,295th run. Though it became increasingly unlikely that he would return, he continued to publicly debate his own official retirement. After leaving the Dodgers, Henderson started his second consecutive season with the Newark Bears in May of 2004. In 91 games, he had a .462 on-base percentage with more than twice as many walks, 96 as strikeouts, and stole 37 bases while being caught only twice. On May 9th, 2005, Henderson signed with the San Diego Surf Dogs of the Golden Baseball League, an independent league. This was the Surf Dogs and the Golden Baseball League's inaugural season, and Henderson helped the team to the league championship. In 73 games, Rickey Henderson had a .456 on-base percentage with 73 walks while striking out 43 times and 16 steals while being caught only twice. It would be his final professional season. He still wanted to play, and he had delayed the retirement and went on. And in May of 18th of 2007, the San Francisco Chronicle reported that Oakland general manager Billy Beane was considering adding Henderson to the roster for one game in September, provided it did not, quote, infringe on the integrity of the roster that season, so that Henderson could retire as an Oakland A's player. A month later, Henderson appeared to reject the overture, saying, one day I don't want to play again, man. I don't want nobody's spot. I just want to see if I deserve to be out there. If I don't, just get rid of me. Release me, and if I belong, you don't have to pay me but the minimum salary. And I'll donate every penny of that to some charity. So how's that hurting anyone? Don't say goodbye for me when I want that one day to be given to me so bad. I'll let you know. The Athletics retired Henderson's 24 on August 1st of 2009. In 2007, it's written that he finally conceded his official retirement, July 13, 2007. "I haven't submitted retirement papers to Major League Baseball," he said, "but I think Major League Baseball already had their papers that I was retired." Characteristically, Rickey said, "If I was in a situation where we were going to win the World Series and I was the only player left that they had left, I would put on the shoes. And so I just want to stop there. The rest of it is about his coaching and then image and personality. But I want his record, his exploits, his heroism to be recorded on some video somewhere. Maybe it is on some other video. I don't know. But I wanted this to be read so that officially Rickey would know that people were reminded of his greatness season after season after season after season after season after season after season. That's the way he would want it. That's why I did this. Rickey Henderson is a legend who should never be forgotten and will never be forgotten. At all. At all. And I'm proud to say I've known him. And I grieve for his family and his girlfriend, who was a great friend of mine. And I know that God will bless him and keep him in the next life. I'm going to stop right now. I'm really sorry. I gotta go.